We'll start with the prayers. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shruniyama Devaah Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraah Stirairangaihi Sushtuvagam Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vrittashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishvaveda Swasti nastakshorarishthanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatirdhadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are studying Mandukya Upanishad, chapter 4, the 56th Karika. And this chapter is a concluding chapter. We are in the last section where Gaudapadacharya summarizes his entire teaching of chapter 1, 2, and 3. These verses are useful to those seekers who are keen to realize the state of freedom called moksha. It is our own nature, and these verses, they tell us what type of knowledge we should have about this world in which we live in. Without studying Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads, our view of the world is the triangular format. Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. The moment we study Upanishads, the format changes. The format becomes Atma, Anatma format. I am Atma, everything else is Anatma. The three states are Anatma: waking, dream, and sleep. That is the biggest realization. They all happen and they are experienced, but factually they are non-existent. Very difficult for a normal person to believe this. Because in the Jiva Jagat Ishvara format, our conditioning of the mind is the world is real, it is there right in front. We try to analyze the world more and more and more. And then we hope that one day we will be blessed and we will have the grace of the Lord and we'll get moksha. That is at a junior level, that is at the Adhyaropa stage. That is what Gaudapadacharya is teaching in these verses. The moment you become a senior student, you are getting the knowledge of the real status of yours. The real status of me is not this body. It is not this mind. Veda teaches us that I have a higher nature, which is always there. And that is unborn. I am awareness, consciousness is my higher nature. There is no birth or death in that higher nature. There is no Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara in that nature. So, studying these verses from 51 to 62 is for those people who want to realize the freedom called moksha. Shankaracharya clearly says, if you don't study these verses, you won't get moksha. Very bold statement. So let us go ahead and continue our study of the 56th Karika, where we say moksha is kaivalyam. Kaivalyam means there is only one thing in this entire universe which is Atma or Brahman or Turyam. Only one thing. Standing as that Turiya Atma, how do I see this world? That is what is the topic in these verses from 56 to 62. In the 56th verse, Gaudapadacharya says that in the Vyavaharika Jagrat Avastha, there is cause and effect. But when you go to the Paramarthika Avastha, you must drop the obsession of this cause and effect and see who you are. As long as you see yourself as in the Vyavaharika state, the cause and effect is valid. But the moment you come to Turiya Avastha, Turiyam as your primary nature, we must remove this conditioning of cause-effect. Because our intellect is used to thinking, oh, this is the cause, this is the effect, this is the cause, this is the effect. This is very good for our vyavahara. But it is not good when it comes to understanding our spiritual nature. I am not avastha traya born. I am not the possessor of these three states, but I am the sakshi chaitanyam, witness, in which these three states are experienced. Avastha trayam belongs to the mind. Mind belongs to Atma. Mind belongs to Maya. So within Avastha Trayam, there is a waker, dreamer, sleeper. In some places, we find aquatic animals like sharks. They are put in a glass cage. Shankaracharya says, when I realize I am awareness, I am putting the world in a glass cage. World will not touch me. That is because I am asangaha. I am Turiya Atma. In Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, Nadatte kasyachit papam nachaiva sukrutam vibhuhu ajnane navrutam jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavaha. This knowledge of Turiyam is enveloped by ignorance, very thick ignorance. Why is it thick? Because continuously in every birth I've been thinking the world is real, I am real, and all the things which I am doing is real. Therefore, continuously I've been thinking of the world as ever existing. So I am ever covered by the shield of glass house, Turiyam, and come down to the world, I am always safe. See, suppose I remain as Turiya Atma, I am safe. The moment I come into the world, I am opening up the glass case and entering the world of samsara. Samsara doesn't touch me if I am Turiya. I am in the glass cage. So I am the witness, always untouched by anything which happens in the waking, dream and sleep. He is the final conclusion of Veda. See, the problem is you and I, we are all caught up in our emotions. How to drop our emotions and see the truth? That is what is being discussed here. So as long as there is obsession with cause and effect, samsara will continue. When this obsession drops, I am free. So the central idea behind this particular verse number 56 is drop the conditioning of your mind. That is why I keep repeating, whenever you come to a Vedantic class, keep your mind completely empty. Don't have any conditions. Don't have any, how this is possible, how that is possible, keep your mind totally empty. Let the knowledge of the Veda enter your head. You may get questions, but what you should do, I will get rid of my questions in due course of time. I will keep studying the Veda. As I study the Veda, Upanishads, I will keep on getting the knowledge. That knowledge doesn't come instantly. It takes time because that conditioning has to be taken away. Now, the next Karika is 57. There is an objection which is raised by a Purvapakshi. He says, okay, as per your matam, Turiyam alone is. There is no second thing at all in the world. That is the seventh mantra, which is Nantar Prajnam, Navesh Prajnam. That means there is no waker, there is no dreamer, there is no sleeper at all. That is your ultimate teaching. This is what is Purvapakshi. Then he says, how are you talking about the Avesha, obsession of Karanam, of Samsara? How come you're talking about Hetu Phalam, Avesha? Hetu means cause effect. He uses the theory of Anvaya Vyatireka. We have studied this methodology many times before. What is Anvaya? Anvaya means co-presence. Samsara is there whenever there is Karanam and Karyam. When there is no Karanam and Karyam, there is no Samsara. These are the two propositions. So in your matam, if there is only Turiyam, there should not be any Samsara at all. But then everybody is experiencing Samsara. All of us are experiencing joy, sorrow, whole day we are experiencing nothing but this samsara only. This Purvapakshi's question seems very relevant. Gaudapadacharya says, go back to what I taught you in the second chapter, 32nd verse. Na nirodho na chodpattir, na baddho na sadakaha. There is neither dissolution, there is no birth, there is no death, there is no bondage, there is no freedom. This alone is the supreme truth that was said in the second chapter. In Turiya Avastha, we cannot use the words moksha, bandhaha, samsara. All these are words only in Vyavahara, in the lower plane. Like in dream world, you can say, yes, I am having samsara. But the moment you wake up, the samsara of the dream world is not there. Similarly, when you wake up to Turiya Atma, the samsara experience of the waking state is not there. Because that is a higher state. That is the Paramarthika Satyam. That is what is the answer given by Shankaracharya to the Purvapakshi. Let's listen to Vijaya chanting this lovely verse.
Samvritya jayate sarvam. Samvritya jayate sarvam. Shashvatam nasti tena vai. Shashvatam nasti tena vai. Sadbhavena hyajam sarvam. Sadbhavena hyajam sarvam. Uchchedastena nasti vai. Uchchedastena nasti vai.
So Gaudapadacharya in this verse, he says, the entire concept of birth and death is illusion. It is produced out of the ignorance of Turiyam. Like you have the ignorance of waker in the dream world, similarly, there is an ignorance of Turiyam in the waking state. Whatever we experience in the waking state is ignorance born, which is a very, very fundamental thesis of Gaudapadacharya. and in all the Upanishads. That is what we call it as Mula Avidya. In this verse explanation, Shankaracharya divides Avidya into Tula Avidya and Mula Avidya. So, Purva Pakshi, I have explained to you. Tell me clearly, is there samsara or not? You tell me very clearly, he is throwing the ball at the Vedanta, Advaita. What does Vedanta say? Shankaracharya says we can talk in we can say in two ways. What is one way? Samsara is seemingly there. Because I'm experiencing. The waking world is seemingly there because I experience. This is one method. Second way of looking at this is it is not there. Waking world is actually not there. Where is yesterday's working world? Where is day before yesterday's working world? Where is the waking world of when I was 5 years old? Where is it today? Where is the waking world when I was 10 years old? It's no longer there. Where is the waking world in tonight's sleep state when I am sleeping? Today's waking world is not there. So the waking world is like a mirage water. It is there. Seemingly it appears, yes, everything is happening. The class is going on. I am listening to class. I am understanding. I am not understanding. All this is a seeming experience. What about Sukham and Dukkham? I felt very sad when I didn't get the first rank, or when I didn't get that house which I wanted, or I didn't get the car, I didn't get that jewelry which I wanted, that sari which I wanted, that dress which I wanted, that promotion which I wanted. It is a mirage. It is like the rope snake. It is like the silver seen on a shell. Experientially, seemingly, it is there. But factually, it is not there. This is a very, very important finding of Gaudapadacharya. This type of reasoning we don't see so explicitly mentioned in other Upanishads. In Mandukya Upanishad, Gaudapadacharya opens up this subject of reality of this world. And then he analyzes the waking, dream, and sleep. See, we normally use three pramanams: Shruti, Yukti, Anubhava. Shruti says clearly, I am na anta prakyam, na bahish prakyam, I am Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. That's what Shruti is saying about my higher nature. Then Anubhava. My Anubhava is also that I am something which is not this body, mind, I am something else. What is that something else cannot be described. Because when I look at the waking state, I have to analyze. You see, I have to analyze the three states. So samsara is there for a ajnani. It is not there for a jnani. So because of the ajnanam, the ignorance of the turiya avastha, the world seemingly exists. The moment my intellect understands turiya avastha is my real nature, it is a fact. Like the sun never rises, sun never sets, it is a fact. Experientially, I see the sun rising and sun setting. Nobody denies the experience, but what here we are talking about is what is the fact. I alone exist. Anatma is an appearance. It has seeming existence. Therefore, it is mithya. Atma is unconditional. There is no condition related to Atma. Ignorance is of two types. One is Tula Avidya, another is Mula Avidya. So Tula Avidya, what is Tula and what is Mula Avidya? This is a term used in Vichara Sagara by Nischala Dasa. Tula Vidya means Anatma ignorance. Suppose I don't know physics. That is called as Tula Avidya. They make a difference between Avidya. In Avidya, ignorance, there are two types. One is about the world. That is how we study and get a PhD. So Anatma ignorance is one type. Second ignorance is, I don't know who I am. I think I am the body, but the Upanishad says you are not the body. And my Anubhava also proves I am not the body. I am something else other than the body, which we call it as consciousness. That ignorance that I don't know my real nature is called as Mula Avidya, Atma ignorance. From that Atma ignorance, Upanishad says the world originates. Example, like the ignorance of the waker, the dream world rises. There is a covering of my waking state. And then there is some projection of a dream world. There is a covering of my Turiyam nature, and there is a projection of this entire waking state. Later on, Gaudapadacharya in the 62nd verse, he says, both these projections of the waking and the dream is done by one Maya principle. That is the highest. In the 62nd verse, he says that. So you have to wait till that time. See, each and everything slowly, Gaudapadacharya educates our intellect. It is not all of a sudden we are told that the waking state is mithya. There is a graduated study in all these chapters. We studied chapter 1, we studied chapter 2, chapter 3. There are many of the students who have gone through every talk of Mandukya Upanishad. So here what we say is, whenever there is a doubt about Vedanta, always try to remember what happens in the waking and dream. In Purusha Suktam, I have quoted this verse many times, verse number 21, which says, Ajayamano Bahuda Vijayate. Ajayamano. Without being born, that consciousness appears as this world, empirical realm. So, all the Vyavahara, all the Samsara is in the Vyavaharika state at the level of Paramarthika Satyam, which is Turiya Avastha, Turiyam Swarupa. There is no birth, there is no death, there is no Samsara. Entire Vyavaharikam is said to be Kshetram. In chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, which is Kshetrajna Vibhagaha. In that, the entire waking, dream, sleep is clubbed together as Kshetram. So don't try to find out in the waking state, can I look at Atma? No. You have to drop the waking state and then rise above the waking state. That is what we call it as Karya Karana Vilakshana Atma. Hetu Phala Vilakshana Atma. So, Avidya state is Vyavaharika state. Where Maya is there, time is there, mind is there, everything is in manifest condition. There is another condition of this world which we call it as Mula Avidya state, which is the sleep state. We call it Mula Avidya, is the sleep state, where the world is in unmanifest form. The unmanifest form is also matter. It is also subtlest matter. Prakriti. When we say Prakriti in Vedanta, nature, it is the subtlest matter. The subtlest matter has got unmanifest condition, manifest condition. In the sleep state, unmanifest condition. In the waking state and dream state, manifest condition. In this verse, number 57, Gaudapada Acharya uses a technical term, samvrittihi. Samvrittihi means, it can mean both karanam and karyam. What is karyam? Karyam means the product. It is the first pada, second pada, waking state, dream state. So samvritti in Bachyartha, which is the direct meaning, it means it is first and second pada. The Lakshyartha is the Karanam, which is the sleep state. We always say that sleep state is the Karanam. How does a Jnani live? How does Ajnani live? When you understand Ajnani, then you will understand Jnani. Ajnani means all of us. We think that the Vyavaharika world is the truth, ultimate truth. We don't know that there is Paramarthika. What about Jnani? He also lives in the same Vyavaharika field, but what is his knowledge in his intellect? The knowledge in his intellect is, I am not a Jiva. I am not a Karta Bhokta. Jiva is a temporary status of this body and mind, and which is experiencing the world. What is my real nature? My real nature is Paramarthika Satyam, which is Turiya Atma, which is Nityam, which is Avyavaharyam. I'm sure all of you remember this technical word, Avyavaharyam. Avyavaharyam means what? There is no Vyavahara. There is no transaction in Turiya. That is the description of Turiya. No Vyavahara means what? There is no waking, there is no dream, and there is no sleep Vyavahara. In Bhagavad Gita, the same moksha status is being described in very beautifully in fifth chapter. What is being described? Turiya. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavid. Pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran asnan gachan swapan swashan. We have seen these verses also many times. So, for a jnani who knows the truth, he knows he is Paramarthika Satyam, Turiyam. Seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, eating, walking, going, singing, crying, breathing, all this is happening at a lower level, and it is mithya. Again and again, Gaudapada Acharya is banging in every verse the fundamental truth, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. What is the world which we experience? The world we experience is through the Jnana Indriyams and Karma Indriyams and Antakarma. The Jnani who rests in the Turiya Avastha neither rejoices the pleasant things, favorable things, neither he complains about the unpleasant. Samatva Buddhi. 5th chapter, 20th verse, Bhagavad Gita, na prahirtyet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhir sammudaha, brahmavit brahmani sthitaha, brahmavit brahmani sthitaha. Means what? He rests in as Turiya Atma. Then, while living in the world, that is what is called as Jivan Mukti. So don't get overexcited with any things in the world, either Sukham or Dukkham. ये ही संस्पर्शजा भोगाः दुःखयोनयव एवते आद्यन्तवन्त कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः. Very beautiful verse which talks about the practical lesson I can get to face the world. What is the practical lesson in Gita? The enjoyments are born out of the contacts of the sense organs with the sense objects in the world. This contact is not permanent. It cannot be permanent. That is the nature of the world. Knowing this, the wise remain aloof. They remain steady in their Turiya Avastha. So with this knowledge of Turiya Atma, you have to decide whether you should have mamakara towards objects and beings. These are all the steps involved. See, Shankaracharya's commentary is always with a view to make us realize whatever is said in the Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita. That is why these commentaries are so profound and so precious. If I identify myself as Sakshi Chaitanyam, then I don't have samsara. Next paragraph. Objects claim to be born and gone with the Vedanta torchlight. Whatever is born at any time is unborn, Brahman only. Why? Because it is the root of this entire tree of samsara is Turiya Atma. Chapter 15, Bhagavad Gita, verse 1, 2, 3. Urdhva moolam adashakam ashwatham prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda veda. You know the root and then you can drop the samsara tree. The root of this entire samsara tree is this Turiya Atma. That is where Vedanta is throwing the torchlight. In Mandukya Upanishad, Vedanta is throwing the torchlight at the sleep state. Gaudapadacharya says, come on. Look at your sleep state. Wake up to your nature of Turiya Atma. Drop the sleep state, wake up to the Turiya Atma. In the sleep state, do you experience the world? No, I don't experience any, neither waking, neither dream. So why are you so fond of these two worlds? Be fond of your nature, which is Turiya Avastha, which is Turiya, which is unborn. In that Turiyam, there is no Karanam or Karya. It is Paramarthika Satyam. And it is a changeless, a Karanam status. A Karanam means it is not a cause at all. Turiyam is not a cause. Why? Because the world is not a real world. If the world was real, then Turiyam will be a real cause. Why do we say it is akaranam? Because the world is mithya. So, don't focus on the movie character, shift the vision to the screen of the TV. When you shift the vision to the screen consciousness, pure Atma, what do we say? Standing there, you will say there was no class of Mandukya at all. The Mandukya class is a part of the Vyavaharika stage. Birth, death, everything is Vyavaharika. At that level, there is no samsara and Nirvana Shatkam, Name Dvesharago, Name Lobha Moho. Mado naiva me naiva matsarya bhavaha. Na dharmo no chartho na kamo na bho moksha. Chidananda rupaha shivoham shivoham. For all those people who are interested in meditation, take these verses of Nirvana Shatkam. I have very elaborately done meditation on these Nirvana Shatkam mantras. Take those mantras, you can easily meditate on them. If you want to know who am I, if you want to know I am the Turiya Atma, these verses of Nirvana Shatkam are jewels. They are very, very precious. Exactly like how we have got, say, 25 mantras of Bhagavad Gita, which are very precious. Again and again, remembering those Najayate Mriyate Va Kadachit. Yesterday I was talking in the Bhagavad Gita class. This one verse, let it run into your mind again and again. Na jayate, I am not born. Na mriyate, I do not have death. Tell yourself, I am Sakshi, I am consciousness, I am Chetanas Tattvam. I am the sentient principle. So, Turiya Jnanam is required for the attainment of moksha. If you have Turiya Jnanam, you get rid of Mula Avidya. That is the 57th mantra. This is a revision portion. I have taken most of it. Samvritya, I have explained, is Ajnanam, cause of Ajnanam. Ajnanam leads to Avidya, Mula Avidya, and Maya is the ultimate cause for this whole universe. Maya is the cause for the Laukika world as well as the Vaidika world. That means all the rituals, the entire way, the Purva Bhaga is nothing but Anatma. Dakshinamurti, we have seen this verse many, many times, where we say that this entire bija for this universe is Maya, which we discussed just now in this 57th verse. Karya karana kartrutve hetu prakriti ruchyate. Purusha sukha dukkhana bhoktrutve hetu ruchyate. Prakriti is the cause for karanam and karya. But when it comes to experience of sukham and dukkham, Purusha is said to be the cause. Purusha means what? Sentiency. What is pleasure and pain? It is only a vritti. It is only a thought. I am suffering. I am having this pain. I am having this samsara problem. Something is not going well in my life. These are all thoughts. But who illuminates these thoughts? It is Purusha. That is what said in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So Maya angle, you see birth and death. But from the Turiyam angle, Sarvam Ajam, nothing is born, is the truth. Now let's see the chanting of the next verse, which is the 58th verse.
Dharmaya iti jayante. Dharmaya iti jayante. Jayante tena tattvataha. Jayante tena tattvataha. Janma mayopamam tesham. Janma mayopamam tesham. Sacha maya na vidyate. Sacha maya na vidyate.
In all these verses, up to 62nd verse in this section, Gaudapada Acharya is explaining explaining to us the effect of Maya. In different ways, he's trying to explain to us how to cross over this cause-effect relationship of Vyavahara and go to Karya Karana Vilakshana Turiya Atma. That is the objective behind all these verses. So here is what he's saying is, all of us, we feel I am separate than the other person. That is what is called as the ego. The moment the body is born, the ego automatically comes because of the reflection of consciousness in the mind. All of us. It happens at birth itself, and every day it happens. The ego goes away in the sleep state. Ego again comes back when we are waking. So this I, which I keep on getting, and it arrives, departs. This does not happen when you are standing as Turiyatma. In Turiyatma, if you understand, that is why understanding of Turiyatma is very, very critical for moksha. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Brahma Satyam means Turiyam Satyam. What is the Turiyam nature? You have to know for moksha. In Turiyam, there is no Jiva Jagati Ishvara. In Turiyam, there is no Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata Bheda. All these are being taught again and again in these verses, so that we are able to take our intellect away from this body-mind complex to something which is beyond this. So if you're standing as Turiyatma, birth is an illusion. Waking state is an illusion. Dream state is already an illusion because you're woken up. You have to wake up from your waking state to Turiyam state to say waking state is illusion. Because of rope ignorance, I project, my mind projects it could be a snake. Because I have Turiyam ignorance, I project that this world is real. World I see, but the reality of the world is projected by my intellect on the world. That is what the entire Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita try to negate. That projection that it is real. That is what is the cutting of the ignorance knot. Why? Because world is a magic show, it is appearing, disappearing. It is a power. There is some power, which we call it as Ishvara's power. We call it as Brahman's power, which we call it as Maya Shakti. So Brahman or Turiyam plus this Maya power is this magic show called the universe. Which is nothing but, universe is nothing but the three states, waking, dream, and sleep. What is Maya's definition? Maya's definition is that which really does not exist, which appears to exist, is Maya. Really world is not there. Really the rope snake is not there. But it appears to exist. What exists is only rope. Really, the three states are not there. What really exists is Turiya Atma. Hold on to Turiya Atma, which you all experience. We all experience this Turiya Atma in our sleep state, but we don't know that that is our real state. So, Jiva Jagat Kalpayate. They are thought to be born. They are thought to be born because of Maya Shakti. Srishti, Layam, Pralayam, they are all conditioning of the mind. Seemingly born, not really born. That is what we call it a magic show. So, when we stand as Paramarthika Satyam, the mind which is caught up in samsara wakes up and realizes the Turiyam nature. The mantra number 7 is a very important mantra, not only in Mandukya Upanishad. It is a mantra which negates it is the Apavada mantra. The first portion is Apavada, negation of all the experiences which we have seen in the Adhyaropa stage. And then then it describes what is the real state. Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam, those descriptions are the real state. And in this particular 58th verse, again, Shankaracharya says, all things are seemingly born because of Maya. Just as magically things are created by a magician, similarly, world is a creation of Saguna Ishvara, or alternatively, we call it Nirguna Brahma. So without the Maya, see the world. That is what we are asking you to do in a sleep state. In the sleep state, drop the Maya portion, which is the Tamoguna portion, and then realize your pure nature, which is Nirguna Atma, which is Gunatita Atma. When you look at this world from that Nirguna Atma stage, we call it Maya. We call this waking and dream state as Maya. It is not a real production. It is a false production. Purusha Suktam, I have dealt before. Ajopi sans abhyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavatyatma mayaya. Again, Maya. You see, in Bhagavad Gita, again and again, Lord Krishna uses the word Maya. But when you study Maya in Mandukya Upanishad, the impact of Maya is very, very high, because we are dropping the entire state of Anatma. Then once you accept Maya Shakti, is it real as Brahman? That is the question asked by Purva Pakshi. For this creation, Bhagavan has got Maya Shakti. Brahman plus Maya is Saguna Brahman, which we call it as Dvaitam. So whenever we experience Maya, that means in the waking state, it is Dvaitam. The question is, Brahman has Maya as its attribute or not? Then, you see, if Maya is an attribute, it will permanently be there. But Maya is not an attribute of Brahman. Therefore, we say it is unreal. Is Maya Shakti of Brahman real or unreal? Suppose you were asked this question. What is Maya Shakti? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, Gunas, 3 gunas. Mayam tu prakritim vidyat, Mayinam tu Maheshwaram. This is Shvetashvataro Upanishad. What does it say? It says Lord is the controller of this Maya. What about us? We are all controlled by Maya. That is the difference between Ishvara and Jiva. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord says very clearly, this illusion of mind is very difficult to cross. I have quoted this mantra very often. Mameva ye prapadyante maya mama maya duratyaya. Mama maya duratya. This Maya is very difficult for normal jivas to cross over. Even after doing the 4 chapters of Mandukya Upanishad, many of us will find that the truth of Turiya Atma is still not clicking for me. Some of us will say, yes, I have already understood. Some of us will say, I have understood Turiya Atma clearly, and I understand it is Paramarthika Satyam, and the world we experience, Jiva Jagat Ishvara, is Vyavaharika Satyam. And this entire creation is a projection of that Turiya Atma, Kriya Shakti of Turiya Atma. But is that Kriya Shakti real or unreal? It is unreal. Why the world is Mithya? Suppose the world was Satyam, then Maya will be real. What does Shaiva Siddhanta says? They say Shiva's Maya is world, and both Shiva and the world are real. The Vaishnava Siddhanta, what do they say? Vishnu is real, his Shakti, Maya Shakti, is also real. Nobody agrees with Advaitam. What does Advaitam says? Maya Shakti is unreal, Turiyam is real. What does Maya Shakti consist of? Three gunas. What are the three gunas? Panchabhutas. They are the cause for the Panchabhutas. Body is what? Body is Panchabhutas. In Lalita Sahasranam, this verse comes in 140 Many of you, I know you chant Lalita Sahasranam almost every week. So, Mithya Jagadadisthana Muktida Mukti Rupini Lasya Priya Layakari Sanchas Ranbadi Vandita. Who gives us the redemption? It is that Lalita Devi. That Lalita Devi is Maya principle. Suppose you worship that Lalita Devi, you will get freedom from this samsara. Because that Devi will give you the power to see that it is Mithya. Keep on chanting Lalita Sahasranam, you will get that power. That power will bring you to Mandukya class, and in Mandukya class you will realize that is that power, which is Maya Shakti. See, these are all unknown things of the universe. These all are true. The entire world is a very, very beautiful order. Lord's Ishvara's creation has got fantastic order. Things happen at a particular time in our life. Good things, bad things. Why does it happen today but not yesterday? Order. Order is law of karma. So the Pramanam which says the proof which tells us Maya is Mithya, the Pramanam is Svetashvatara Upanishad. If Maya is real, the world created by Maya will be real, and then we will have Dvaitam. But Shruti negates Dvaitam. Kathopanishad, Neha Nanasti Kinchana. There is nothing in this world except Brahman, except Turiya Atma. Na bhumi rapo, na chavanni rasti, na chanilo mesti, na chambaram cha. Kaivalya Upanishad. Two mantras are there, 23rd and 24th. Again, negates the world. In the 13th chapter, 35th verse of Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra Kshetrakyo Revam Antaram Yanu Chakshusha Bhuta Prakriti Moksham Cha Eviduryanti Te Param. The one who can discuss, who can distinguish between the Kshetram and Kshetrajna. Kshetrajna is the truth, Kshetram is false. He alone crosses Maya. He gets the liberation from Prakriti. He is never born again because he realizes that I am not born. I, the consciousness, am never born. That is what Gaudapada says in this 58th verse. So, Purva Pakshi says, if Brahman has Maya Shakti to create the universe, it will be Satyam. What? Then Maya Shakti and world must be equally real as Brahman. That is Purva Pakshi. But Gaudapada Acharya says that is not the case because Maya is Asat. Asat means it is non-existent, but it is seemingly existent. One of the best verses of Vivek Chudamani is the description of this Maya, description of this world. Maya is world. What does it say about the world? You can neither describe it as Sat or neither you can say it as Asat. That is what is called as Maya. See, what a fantastic definition it is. Does the world exist? If it exists, it is Sat. But the world is not seen in a sleep state. It does not exist. So world cannot be said as Sat. World is not Asat. Why it is not Asat? Because it is experienced in the waking state. So the world, what we define as the world is Maya. You see, today's discussions, the whole 56, 57, 58, 3 verses we are studying, and all these 3 verses are telling us world is Maya. Jagat is Mithya. Vyavaharika Satyam means Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. All the 3 states put together is called as Vyavaharika Satyam. What about Turiyam? Turiyam is Paramarthika Satyam, in which there is no Maya. There is no Avidya. There is no Mula Avidya. There is no Tula Avidya. That is what is said in the 58th sloka. Next is the 59th sloka. Again, the explanation of Maya, which is a magical show of Ishvara. Here, all objects in creation are taken up by Gaudapada Acharya. Everything in the universe is taken up. Let's see the mantra by Vijay.
Yatha maya mayad bijat, Yatha maya mayad bijat, Jayate tanmayonkurah, Jayate tanmayonkurah, Nasau nityo na chotchedi, Nasau nityo na chotchedi, Tadvaddharmeshu yojana, Tadvaddharmeshu yojana.
Again, the discussion of Maya continues. Here, even Jiva is taken as Maya principle. So what is Maya? It is neither eternal, neither it is destructible. Same thing. So when we talk about magical creation, we can talk about 2 types of magical creations. One type of magical creation is what? It is without raw material. It is a simple projection of a magician. A magician's flower, plant, trees, suddenly they come out. That is what we call it as Maya Bija. That is one type of magic. The second type of magic is what we see in our empirical world, where we see there is a Upadana Karanam, there is a Nimitta Karanam, there is a raw material, there is a cause, there is a pot. For pot, there is clay. For gold, we can get ornaments. Baby is born in time. All these are all, again, another type of magical creation. Birth, death is experience. Arrival, departure is experience. But what does Upanishad say? Factually, they don't originate or they don't go away. It is an appearance only. The entire creation is an appearance. Experientially, arrival and departure is there. That is what we call it as Srishti and Pralaya. But factually, it is one observer. Consciousness is the highest principle in our world. That highest principle, we call it as Paramartha. It exists. It is the only thing which exists. That is Turiya Avastha. In chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita, Avyakta Vyaktaya Sarvaha Prabhavantyah Ragame Ratyagame Praliyante Tatreva Vyakta Samyake. From the unmanifest, manifest is born every day. From the sleep state, unmanifest state, the waking state is born. Again, when the night comes, the manifest world goes back into unmanifest condition. This is exactly what mantra number 6 of Mandukya Upanishad says. Sleep state is the Karanavastha for the waking and dream. Waking and dream is Karyam, it is manifest. But what is the truth behind this sleep and the waking dream? That is what is called as Turiyam, which is described in the second chapter, 32nd mantra, like that second chapter, 20th mantra of Bhagavad Gita. You must remember Mandukya Upanishad, second chapter, 32nd mantra. Very, very important mantra. Na nirodho na chotpattir na baddho manacha sadakaha. Always there is no bondage at all. Only I have a conditioning. Initially we start, even Bhagavad Gita study, when we start, we say, yes, we are all in samsara. And we all have to cross over samsara. That is Adhyaropa stage. In Apavara stage, what do we say? There is no samsara. Kshetrajna is the only truth. So can we say that the world is Nityam or Anityam? Nityam and Anityam is there only in the Vyavaharika stage. In the Paramarthika stage, there is no Nityam or Anityam. Similarly, Jiva, does it exist or doesn't it exist? Same reasoning is what Gaudapadacharya says in the 59th. With reference to Mula Vidya, there is appearance of a seeming universe. Birth, death, objects and beings are experienced. With reference to the world, we can say it is Nityam or Anityam, but it is not a noun in itself. In absolute sense, there is no Nityam or Anityam. We can't use the word Nityam for Brahman, Nityam or Anityam for the world, or Nityam or Anityam for any object or being, because they are Anirvachaniya. See, that is another word which Gaudapadacharya uses. For a junior student, 57th Karika and the 54th Karika is important. For a senior student, the 59th Karika is important because it is from Paramarthika Drishti. 57th and 54 says that the world has Srishti and Layaha. World is Anityam and Brahman is Karanam. That is for a junior student. But when it comes to senior student, what do we say? There is nothing called as Nityam and Anityam. They are only at the Vyavaharika level, which is Mithya. At a Paramarthika level, it is absolute nature. When there is no prapancha, for example, in the sleep state, there is no prapancha, there is no sharira. So how do we describe that state? Can we say it is Nityam or Anityam? No. That is what Gaudapadacharya says. When it comes to Turiya Atma, there is no Nityam or Anityam. Nityam, Anityam we use with reference to Anitya world. And when it comes to a senior student, we drop those words and we say the world is Anirvachaniyam. Anirvachaniyam means you can't use any word to describe Brahman or the world, because words cannot describe neither the world or neither Turiya Avastha. Turiyam or God alone was there before, it is there now, and it will always be there. This is the best definition of Turiyam. World appears and disappears. There is Turiyam or Atma which is always there, changelessly. So for a senior student, he has already got his third eye open. Third eye means it is the Vedic eye. It is a knowledge born out of the Veda. What is that knowledge? It is Paramarthika Drishti. It is Shastriya Drishti. There is no origination or destruction happening in the Shastriya Drishti. Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti. That Turiyam from which the world is seen, is born. That Turiyam or that Brahman is alone the reality. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it describes that Turiya Avastha as something which doesn't have any posterior or interior or exterior, prior or posterior, interior or exterior, because there is no time, there is no space in Turiya. Ninth chapter, 4th and 5th, Mastani Sarva Bhutani, the world is in me, is for junior student, because he considered the world is real. The very next verse, 5th verse, is for the senior student, who has understood the world is mithya. And for him, Lord Krishna says, Pashya me yogam aishwaram. You have seen my Aishwaryam. You have seen my Maya Shakti. Nachamastani Bhutani. Okay, so that was this 59th verse. I will just introduce the 60th verse, and then we may not have time to finish, but doesn't matter.
Najeshu sarvadharmeshu Najeshu sarvadharmeshu Shashvata shashvatabhidha Shashvata shashvatabhidha Yatra varnana vartante Yatra varnana vartante Vivekastatra nochyate Vivekastatra nochyate.
So how do we describe a jiva? Jiva is basically the ego. Here in the 60th verse, Gaudapadacharya says, this jiva, which is the ego, which is never born, it is indescribable. Indescribable means what? You cannot say it is true or you cannot say it is false. Very important verse for us. How do I get the inner meaning of this? I feel that I have the ego as soon as I wake up. the I-ness in my body mind complex glows. That glowing factor of I during the waking state, I in the dream state. This glowing nature of ego, is it real or is it unreal? Can we describe it as Sat or Asat? Gaudapadacharya says it is anirvachaniyam. Similarly, can we describe Atma? It is always there in 3 periods of time. Atma is also indescribable. The ego, Jiva, is also indescribable. There are 5 conditions which are required for verbal description. We have seen this before. Jati, Guna, Kriya, Dravya, Sambandha. But Atma does not have any of this. Anatma cannot be described because it is not there. You cannot say it is Sat or Asat. It is Mithya or Maya. Atma does not have features or conditions to describe, like Jati. There is no Jati. It is Ajati. Atma doesn't have Guna. Atma doesn't have Kriya. There is no action in Atma. Guna, it is Nirguna. It has no relationship. It is Asangaha. It is not a substance. It is not Dravyam. Therefore, Atma cannot be described. So in this short verse, what he means to say is that Atma cannot be described, Anatma cannot be described. That is why therefore, Turiya Atma can't be said to be Nityam or Anityam. Similarly, Jivatmas, because they are actually that Turiya Atma, the Jivatma's experiences as the ego cannot be said to be real or unreal. All our experiences from birth till death, we cannot put them in any category. If you study Mandukya Upanishad, if you analyze your life, at any point of time, you study your life, was that experience there? It was there when it was there. Afterwards, it is not there. The whole life is like this only. That is what Gaudapadacharya has clearly brought out in these 5-6 verses, which we studied today. So 60th verse, every Jivatma is nothing but one Paramatma, one consciousness. Sashvata, Asashvata, these are all words from the Vyavaharika angle. Anityam, Nityam, Adhyasa, Adhishtanam, Karyam, Karan. These are all words which we use at the Vyavaharika level. Gaudapadacharya says you cannot apply it to the Turiya Atma because there is no Desha, Kala, Vastu in Turiya Atma. Brahman is timeless. If Nityam means what? Eternally it is there. But Brahman is timeless. So you cannot apply Nityam or Anityam to Brahman. That is what is Gaudapadacharya's finding. A knife can cut butter, vegetables, but a knife cannot cut a hard rock. So similarly, words cannot reveal Brahman. Words are like the knife trying to cut a rock. Similarly, words cannot describe Brahman. Words cannot describe something which is beyond Triputi. Triputi means Pramata, Pramanam, Prameyam. Knife does not have a function on a rock. Words do not have a function on the world which we experience or on the Turiyam which is beyond the world. That is why we say Pratibodha Viditam Matam. Before we experience anything in the world, awareness, consciousness is the starting point. Always. Just try to use this one beautiful verse, number 4 of Keno Upanishad, second chapter. Many of you have made this as a, have by-hearted this, you have meditated on this very beautiful mantra, Pratibodha Viditam. I am awareness, consciousness. Whatever I experience, whether it is body, sense organs, mind, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasagandha, all that is mortal. I, the Atma, am immortal. This is the way to enter into Nirupadika Swaprakasha Swatasiddha Turiya Atma. Okay. So, in this mantra, I'll take maybe another 5 minutes. It says that Brahman you cannot describe as Sat or Asat, Chit or Achit, Anantam or Sa Anantam. And Brahman is neither a being or not a being. 13th chapter, 13th verse. Here, Lord Krishna says, I will teach you something which you cannot call it as being or non-being. See, even in Bhagavad Gita itself, it talks about Karana Karya Vilakshana Atma. And this verse of Taittiriya Upanishad is very clear. See, in all these verses today, what we are saying is Maya is indescribable, which is all our experiences. Turiya Atma is also indescribable because it is beyond words. Yatho vacho nivartante. Next week, we will start with the 61st Karika. The central meaning, I'm quite sure all of you have got the gist of all these 4 verses which we did, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Five verses we did. But the gist is Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Okay. Let's continue this session next week with the 61st mantra. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.